Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a bonus news video this week covering some extra Diablo 2 Resurrected news that came in at the end of the week. In this video, we'll cover news about how some Korean internet cafes may give a gold find and magic find bonus to Diablo 2 Resurrected players, how Blizzard is finally commenting on the changed appearance of our cast of heroes, how the devs will be treating D2R as a live game, a live service, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new videos and keep up to date with Diablo news. Now before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, Ace Defender, a game that's a cool mix between turn-based RPG gameplay with tower defense. You form a lineup of heroes with 48 heroes to pick from 5 different factions: Divine, Demon, Shadow, Nature, and Light. And new heroes release every 2 weeks. You combine heroes and equip them with gear to form compositions for different kinds of battles. In the single-player storyline Expedition mode, you have over 40 chapters, almost 2,000 levels to play through. We're helping the Silver Dragon Princess fight off an invasion of evil dragons, demons, and undead. Then outside of the expedition, there's more PvE. You explore dungeons, face trials, level up your heroes, and collect rare items. In PvP, you can face off against other players in your server or even across servers in global rankings. And you can speed up the gameplay by up to 4 times if you want to speed up the action. And if you want to try out Ace Defender and use my referral link, you'll receive the following benefits when you reach level 10. 150,000 gold, 700 diamonds, 7 royal recruit tickets, 50 blue plus hero fragments, 50 rare random equipment fragments, and the legendary hero sealed bulward, Lipez. If you want to check it out, download Ace Defender now through my link in the description. In our first story, the Blizzard Korea team released a blog post that is causing some concern among prospective Diablo 2 Resurrected players. It would appear that non-ladder players playing in select South Korean LAN centers will receive greater odds at loot drops. To quote from the translated post, if you play Diablo 2 Resurrected in the Battle.net PC room, a Blizzard Entertainment merchant, you can apply the following benefits during gameplay: plus 25% increased gold from monsters, and plus 25% increased chance of finding magic items. PC room benefits are applied at the same time as the launch. This benefit will not be applied in ladder mode. PC room benefits are subject to change depending on the situation. So just to clarify some things, South Korea has these things called PC bangs, which literally translate to PC rooms. And they're basically LAN centers where customers can pay an hourly fee to play multiplayer computer games. PC bangs are really popular in South Korea, and they really first exploded in popularity because of StarCraft way back in 1998. They're so popular that Blizzard has previously made special deals with Korean PC bangs. For instance, allowing anyone at a PC bang to play Overwatch without having to buy the game themselves. They just have to pay the hourly PC bang fee, and Blizzard gets some cut somewhere. So it sounds like from this post that if you are playing at one of the PC bangs in South Korea that is partnered with Blizzard, you'll get plus 25% gold find and plus 25% magic find as long as you're playing non-ladder. Now, the community response to this has ranged from "this is paid to win and unacceptable" to "this isn't a big deal." So let's hash out why some people feel one way and some feel the other. You are definitely getting a boost for paying a fee at a PC bang. That's without question. Insert real money, receive extra in-game goodies. Now, some say that the 25% gold and magic find is negligible. It is true that gold has little actual worth in Diablo 2 outside of gambling. Gold is largely deemed worthless when it comes to trading with other players, for instance. As for magic find, the way things work in Diablo 2, there are diminishing returns on stacking more magic find. In short, it's not super useful to go above around 350% magic find. As per this chart on the Diablo 2 wiki, having roughly 175% magic find will result in twice as many unique drops, and then 375 magic find will result in 2.5 times more uniques. And then you need to reach a massive 1000% magic find to get just 3 times the unique drops. So 25% extra magic find does almost nothing for finding uniques, sets, or rares when you're already at around 350. However, when the game first launches, everyone will start with 0% magic find. So getting 25% means getting a 25% buff to your drops in the early game, which can help give you an early lead if you are competitive and you want to dominate the trade market, for instance. Now, we do know that this bonus will not apply to ladder whenever the ladder season starts, so That's good. Ladder is deemed the more competitive realm. However, for some people, it's just the principle of it. It doesn't matter how small the bonus is. It doesn't matter that it won't be in ladder. It just matters that some people are spending money and gaining something extra in-game because of it. Now, one counter argument is, well, this already happens. A black market for real money trade of items has existed in Diablo since always. There have always been people who have paid money to get the items that you grinded for. You've been playing alongside them, you've met them for sure, maybe not even realizing it. Someone at some point that you interacted with most likely paid for an item that they have. Now, while this is true, the difference here is that the black market is not actively endorsed and promoted by Blizzard. Now, one big unknown here is whether or not these PC Bang players will be playing on the global Battle.net servers, or whether they'll be restricted to some kind of special PC Bang server. The default assumption is that they will be playing on the new global Battle.net servers, since Overwatch at PC Bangs doesn't segregate PC Bang players, and Diablo 2 Resurrected is being built with so much cross-region and cross-platform support. You can take your character from North America to Europe to Nintendo Switch to PC, all the same character. So it does sound like on launch weekend you might be running into PC Bang players in your games, wherever you may be. Now, we don't know this for sure. And if it does turn out that PC Bang players are segregated in their own server, then that will be an immensely mitigating factor. For instance, Diablo 3 in China is a free-to-play game with microtransactions. You can buy XP boosts, for instance. However, Diablo 3's China realm is completely closed off from the rest of the world. There's no way you can have any interaction, there's no way you can join the same game, and because of that, Diablo 3 players outside of China don't really care that there's a form of pay-to-win in China's Diablo 3 realm, because it could in no way impact them, and none of those microtransactions have ever made their way to the Western version of D3. Now, if PC Bang players can trade items with European or American players, well, the waters get muddied. Again, though, the average Diablo 2 Resurrected player outside of a PC Bang will see zero impact from PC Bang players getting a bit more loot. You will not be impacted in any appreciable way. However, for those who care about the principle of it, it is something to be aware of, and some are even concerned about opening up that door at all. Today it's a 25% buff, but what if on Christmas Day it's a 100% buff? What if we start seeing double XP weekends? Are we starting to boil the frog? Now, of course, it's easy to go down the slippery slope fallacy with this. This could literally be a one and done thing, and not the start of the MTX death of Diablo, but it is raising some concerns. So I turn the question to you folks, is this a non-issue for you, or does this bother you? Personally, if the PC Bang players were segregated, it would 100% be a non-issue for me. As it stands, I know it won't impact me personally in any appreciable way, so it's mostly a non-issue for me, but I'm not a fan of the precedent that it sets. All I can do is hope that it is something that will just always remain outside of the West. In other D2R news, in an interview with Axios, D2R design director Rob Gallerani commented on the topic of boycotting Blizzard, as well as the remastered character redesigns. As a reminder, as we've discussed in multiple videos at this point, Activision Blizzard is being sued by the state of California for alleged civil rights and equal pay violations towards its employees. Now, in response, some gamers have decided to boycott Activision Blizzard games, while others feel that boycotts aren't constructive towards helping the employees. Now, Diablo 2 Resurrected has been mostly developed by Vicarious Visions, a separate studio in an entirely different state, different office, different employees, and it was only recently, within the last few months, that they got integrated into being a part of Blizzard. Now, Rob Gallerani told Axios on the topic of the workplace misconduct allegations, quote, "It was definitely very troubling to hear these types of things, and we really wanted to support our colleagues and our coworkers." Gallerani said that the allegations caused his team to self-reflect, and studio management reached out to ask employees what could be done better. He said, quote, "We heard a lot of really positive things, but I don't think that we ever get a pass on that. We always need to keep asking." When asked about the boycotts, Gallerani said that people should, quote, "do what they feel is right." And I thought that was an incredibly empathetic answer. He could have easily spoken about how the allegations had nothing to do with Vicarious Visions, or spoken about how boycotts can be harmful to the employees who worked on a project, or otherwise just try to convince people to buy the game anyway. Instead, he just expressed an understanding and acceptance that for some people it just doesn't feel right to buy a Blizzard product right now, and he doesn't want to try to convince someone to do something that they feel isn't right. I think Gallerani is a class act. Now, the interview then led to talks about how Blizzard has been criticized by some for depicting women in a sexualized way in its games. Gallerani said, quote, "A lot of those points of view weigh very heavily on us." But he did clarify that the redesigns of the D2R characters was not primarily motivated by an effort to desexualize the characters. Instead, it was to make the characters look more like warriors who battled hell demons rather than people who, quote, rolled out of a nightclub. And I'm so happy to finally have gotten a statement about this. I have my closure now. When I saw the renders for the D2R characters way back when it was first revealed, it was clear to me that there was a deliberate change to their looks. And I was just left wondering, why? All I wanted was an answer. I wondered, is it because they wanted to make us feel like the characters have aged 20 years along with us? I just found it odd that the devs weren't commenting on it at all. All I wanted to know was what was the reason, and now we have the reason. And I'm sure some people will still dislike this decision. I know some people liked that fantasy nightclub aesthetic, and there's nothing wrong with liking that aesthetic. But you can't argue that the redesigned characters do look more like warriors who battle demons. I'd still rather they stayed truer to the originals because I'm very wrapped up in the nostalgia of all the official artwork and the renders of the time. But I do have to accept their artistic decision here. But I do have to admit that seeing their remakes of those old pieces of art and 3D renders has blown me away. The Diablo one I especially love. The detail and the unraveler here is incredible. But while I appreciate the extra details on the Amazon's armor, there's something about her pose that no longer works with this updated look. The druid here actually looks better. I'm glad they changed his weird pose into something more natural looking. And the wolf's face is a huge improvement. The assassin's pauldrons have been scaled down to a more realistic size. Oh, and she found some pants, so she's not freezing off her tuchus in the snow. Now moving on to another story, and another interview with Gallerani and lead graphics engineer Kevin Todisco. These two spoke to GameSpeed and gave some more insight on post-launch plans and possible game changes. GameSpeed asked, "You both talked about how important it is to stay true to the original game. Were there any bigger changes you were tempted to make and had to talk yourselves out of?" Gallerani said, quote, "When we looked at a lot of this original documentation, there were a lot of other ideas that had been tried before. One of the original ideas, and I think it's come up in past interviews, is this concept of a player city. When we first started, we thought that might be cool, but we realized that just because it could have been made, and even if there were other intentions, that's not what the public saw. That's not what their childhood was. We decided to get the game right first before we started trying to change it. This notion of, oh, you should rebalance the game, you should fix these things, that kind of went away. We're not trying to fix the game. We're not trying to build Diablo 3. That game's already been made, it turns out. Diablo 4 has taken it to other places, and so has Diablo Immortal. This is a piece of history that we're bringing into the modern era. We're allowing a new generation to experience it. When you look at it like that, what you can change and what you shouldn't change when you first come out is a little bit easier to make a call on. The player city he's referring to is Battle.net Town, which was an idea that had to be scrapped due to lack of time. We ultimately got instead chat channels. But Battle.net Town was basically meant to be this social hub for people to trade, chat, form parties, and it would have been really cool to see that idea brought to life. But ultimately, this is something that I feel a lot of people don't get. This is a remaster. It's not a remake, it's not an expansion, it's not an enhanced edition. It's a remaster. When a piece of music is remastered, and the term remaster originated in the music industry, you're not adding new instruments or new lyrics or fixing that skipped beat that somehow no one caught before publishing that has become a quirk of the song. A master is the original version of the song that will be mass replicated. You first record your vocals and your instruments in separate tracks, then you combine and process them and record the result onto your master. You then take that master and make 100,000 copies for distribution. A remaster is a new master, made either because the original master is getting old and damaged, or because technology has advanced enough to create a higher quality master. You take those original recordings of the vocals and the instruments again, you mix them together on more advanced equipment, and then you create the remaster on the new technology format. Maybe you make some changes with how you mix together the vocals and the instruments. Maybe you make the quiet moments louder and the louder moments more quiet, and you piss off the fans for making this huge change. But you're not adding a trumpet solo.
And then you know what happens all of a sudden? Trumpets!
GamesBeat then asked, what is the post-launch support going to look like for Resurrected? Gallerani replied, right when we come out, we won't have a ranked ladder. The reason we're doing that is because we're also going to be watching the game to continually support it as it comes out. With ladder, obviously it's a race to hit level 99. The moment the clock turns over and everyone jumps in, we want that to be as smooth an experience as possible. Right now, we can definitely commit to supporting the game, improving that experience for everyone, and hitting the start of our first, well, I don't even know what season we're on in real ladder, but we'll probably call it the first season of ladder in Resurrected. From there, we'll see what the community wants. We don't really make a boxed product anymore, where we give it to you and we're done with it. It's a live game, a live service. We'll continue to have that relationship between us and the community as they start playing it. Now, the possibility always existed, at least to me, that D2R would be a one and done thing. Release the game, then set it on autopilot and restart the ladder every so often and move all resources onto Diablo 4. There was a time I believed that was the most likely outcome. But lately, hearing about the surveys Blizzard is sending out and seeing Gallerani saying that they're treating this like a live game, I'm starting to think they may leave a few people on D2R to give it Diablo 3 levels of support, meaning possible balance changes and new items and season themes a few times a year. The key here, though, is that the D2R team has continuously been stressing that they want to listen to the community and give the community what they want. GamesBeat then asked, is new content on the table like an Act 6? Is that a possibility? Gallerani replied, I will never deny it. It's not on the table right now, but it's not off the table either. Like I said, we're focused on getting that authentic, nostalgic experience right. Even smaller things, like retuning how the Blizzard works, or maybe making a build that's not a hammered in. New rune words, new items, those are all really exciting things. But we want to make sure we stick the landing first. As long as the community says, yeah, you did good, then we can have the next discussion. I do find it funny how so many people want to know whether or not more content will come to D2R, and the devs are just like, guys, please, we haven't even released the game yet, just let us release the game, please. GamesBeat asked, where is a lot of this team going now? Are they staying behind for support on Resurrected? Or are they moving elsewhere? Is there a secret Diablo 1 remake that they're all jumping to? Gallerani replied, so many secrets. We can't really speak to exactly where we're going. Right now, I'm pretty busy making sure this game gets out on time. I commend your confidence that everything is perfect and we can start rolling everyone off right now. But for now, we need to stay on Resurrected, at least for 9 more days, maybe 10. Todisco added, for those 9 days, we tend to tunnel vision a bit on making sure we have the smoothest release possible. Then we'll start to consider what comes after that. I found this interesting because typically, a project nearing launch will begin a spin down phase at least a couple months before launch, before release, where people start getting moved onto other projects because you no longer need the whole team. You just need the people that will work on polish. At least this is true for a one and done game. I'm not too sure about a live service. However, we do know that as of at least April, some of Vicarious Visions has been helping out with Diablo 4, so maybe this transition process already happened, and it's the essential people remaining now that Gallerani is referring to here. And that's going to wrap up this video. But do be sure to have checked out our last video in which we discuss more of Blizzard's comments on post-launch content for Diablo 2 Resurrected. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon, and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.